Welcome in to another episode of Betting the Pitch. I am your host, the real underscore G Warner on Twitter. I appreciate you wherever you're watching this, whether it's on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Twitter, on StreamYard, wherever you're getting this. I appreciate you watching. Leave me a comment, throw some 5-star reviews, like or do whatever you need to do, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. Today's a weird day for betting the pitch as Queen Elizabeth II has died. Rest in peace to her. Seems like she was a nice lady. Not a huge fan of monarchies and also less of a fan of England canceling matches for at least this weekend, soccer matches, that is. And potentially also Champions League matches next week might not be played. I mean, for the death of a woman who was literally born into this is going to start a really long rant, so I'm going to not do that for everyone's sake. Probably get myself in trouble and all those sort of things. So we don't need that. So we're going to be skipping the Premier League this weekend because there won't be any matches played. Instead, I'm going to move to La Liga off the top because that's where the money is for this episode. I'm going to do a best bet for each league and then ultimate best bet end of show. Still waiting for branding. If you're a sponsor and you want to pay me to put that on there or put your name there, I'll do it. But until then, it's ultimate best bet at the end of the show. My top pick on each Friday podcast for all, or I guess each soccer podcast for all the leagues. Without further ado, going to La Liga, we have a Friday match today. Girona, excuse me. Thank you for correcting me, whoever did that in the DMs. Appreciate that a lot. Girona, not the G as an H in Spain, as I like to pronounce names and cities or towns as correctly as possible. Girona hosting Valladolid. Girona, a quarter goal favorite at home. And I got some questions about Girona, especially after Stuani, their talisman captain, best offensive player, had some heart palpitations or some sort of complication in his heart. Hope he's feeling better. I heard it was not life-threatening, but I can't imagine he's available to play anytime soon. And Real Valladolid are both these teams are promoted teams, I guess, to say that, but Real Valladolid are a team that really plays together. They're under a different manager now, so things are a little bit newer than Sergio Gonzalez, who had been there forever and then left for Cadiz and is, I think, still there, but is likely teeter-tottering and being fired and potentially replacing or going back to Valladolid. They got a team of decent players. Sergio Guardiola came back from Rayo Vallecano after going out on loan last season. He's their goal scorer up top, and I don't see a lot from Girona that makes me want to believe in them as a squad just yet. Crowd should be good. I mean, everyone is really, especially on newly promoted sides, is really into trying to keep them in the league, and that'll matter. I don't think that'll push them over the goal line, though, to score a goal, unfortunately. And they, as a quarter goal favorite, have to win to cover the spread. So I lean to Real Valladolid plus a quarter, and we'll move to Saturday's action. Rayo Vallecano, speaking of, hosting Valencia. Currently, Rayo at -1 or a pick 'em, but with all the juice right now, potentially trending towards a quarter of a goal favorite. And anytime I can go against Rayo, I will be interested in that this season as a favorite. They were great at home last season. I don't think that was because they're actually a good team or were a good team. I think it was because they caught a lot of really bad teams at the beginning of the season, and it made them look a lot better. They were running into their talk about them potentially fighting for Champions League or at least European places, and then basically looked like they fell almost into a relegation conversation towards the end of last season. Valencia, on the other hand, are a really proud club that are just not the same squad that they used to be. Gattuso came in, an old Napoli manager, and he's got a big job on his hands. They sold Carlos Soler just recently to PSG. He was their captain. There were rumors about him leaving, but then it seemed like he was staying. But I think if you're selling your captain and a Spanish international and your best player at the end of a transfer window, it's because you're trying to hold on to him as long as you could. And that speaks to the problems that Valencia are having financially. I think their ownership either changed or should be changing. I'm not sure when that's going to happen. But as Valencia move to a quarter goal underdog, I am interested in them, despite going on the road and having a tough place to play, because I don't believe in Rayo to score efficiently. And Valencia's, they do have more talented players. Unfortunately, they had to sell Gonzalo Guedes as well earlier in the window. So they are down attackers, and that's a big problem for them because that's been kind of what they used to be, was a great offense and a poor defense. They then kind of morphed into a better defense last year under Bordalas when they had the most successes. They made a deep run in the Copa del Rey. But goals are still a problem for him, and that's not good. But ultimately, as a quarter goal underdog, as a defensive minded team, that's where I'd like to be. The problem is when Gattuso took over, I think he's trying to mold them back into more of an offensive style like he had at Napoli, just without the talented players that he had there. So there's a lot in flux there. Maybe it's better for me to stay away from this early Saturday morning matchup. But as Rayo get bet more and more, I looked further and further toward Valencia. Next, we have Espanyol hosting Sevilla. Currently, Espanyol a pick'em. Most of the juice on Sevilla on the road right now. I believe this was a very juiced quarter on Espanyol as a home dog earlier in the week. Sevilla are off to an awful start, and it's really not hard to explain. Their manager's been a lame duck for a long time, unless Lopetegui's been fired or sacked since I last paid attention to them. But they did not look good against Barcelona. Tough matchup, but at home you would have hoped that they would have had a little bit more oomph in their team. They certainly started out well, probably deserved a lead, but never took one, never scored from what I saw. And they tried to counter press and really attack and try to create goals in that form and that fashion. Makes me very worried that the team that's used to having the possession, having the ball at their feet for so long, now don't have it. And I'm hoping that they move back to a quarter goal favorite, but based on how they've performed and having to play midweek while Espanyol rested, not a great sign for Sevilla. And I think they're a team that the market might have finally caught up to, though. I think I bet against them each of the first four match days, and it went well every single time. We'll see, but certainly looking for Espanyol to move to a dog. Cadiz then hosting Barcelona. Currently, Cadiz a 1 3/4 goal underdog at home, and they deserve that because they're a bad team that has not been able to score since they moved to La Liga 3 seasons ago. I believe that's right. It's amazing that they've stayed up, both of them, because they were pretty much a favorite to go down in each of those seasons and stayed up, and God knows how. A lot of late wins towards the end of the season as they're fighting relegation all the time. Barcelona had to play midweek, but played fairly well. They look like it's still a defense that's got some problems. I do think Jules Koundé is going to be a big addition for them, but he's still. I mean, they were playing him at right back a little bit so far this season. I'm not really sure what that's going to happen there. But Cadiz aren't the offense to really give Barcelona any trouble. I like them as a home underdog, but 1 3/4 is not enough. I don't even know if 2 is enough. So I'll probably look past this one, and Barcelona might get 5 because Cadiz. I mean, it's really hard to see them scoring any goal in any match whatsoever, which makes me like under. But I think Barcelona can get the 3 goals themselves that would push and probably can score more. Atletico Madrid then hosting Celta de Vigo in the nightcap on Saturday. Atleti currently a 3/4 goal favorite with all the juice. I am looking forward to this one hitting 1, as I'm not a believer in Atleti. I'm not a believer in them to win by multiple goals in any match, really. And I'm not even sure they win this match ultimately because I love Celta de Vigo. I think that the way they play, it's certainly not a defensive style by any means, but Iago Aspas is the best player that no one knows about or talks about. It's amazing to me. I know he's old, but it's amazing to me that he's not in the Spanish national team going to the World Cup this winter or in November, because he is the best goal scorer, pure goal scoring talent in Spain. I don't know who is better, but if you got one, shout him out at me, tweet at me, the real underscore G Warner, respond to this video, comment somewhere, blah, blah, blah. Tell me who's a better Spanish scorer, because it's not Real de Tomas, who they like pushed in the team, forced into there last year because he was a little hot for Espanyol during the La Liga campaign. He's been hurt and has been playing and was potentially transferred, all that sort of stuff. But still, Iago Aspas should be starting, should be on that team. I don't even know if he's been called up. And it's incredible that Luis Enrique just wants to pick young players. But maybe that's better for us to bet against Spain in the World Cup in November when all eyes are going to be glued to ESPN or Fox or whoever owns it here in the U.S. Anyway, for this matchup, Celta Vigo, they're going to possess the ball. They're going to try to be on the front foot. Getting a full goal of insurance, a big number for me because I think they can score. I don't know that Atleti have 2 goals in them at any time. 3 even less likely. So if they can get +1 and score once, you're at least getting a push, and I think they can win this match. So I really like them in the nightcap on Saturday. Crowd will be nuts. We'll be all over the refs the whole matchup, but Celta aren't really a team that I don't think takes a lot of risk in taking red cards. Maybe I do in their back line is potentially a problematic area, or some of their back line in general, but I like the Unai Lopez, or excuse me, Unai, one of the Unais from Atletico or Athletic Club joined the back line. And I just don't believe in Atleti, and they're going to have to prove a lot more to me, and it certainly hasn't happened just so far this season. Moving to Sunday, the early match, Real Madrid hosting Mallorca. Currently, Real Madrid a 1 3/4 goal favorite. and they're going to have to break down one of the deepest lying position back lines in all of Europe. Certainly, Real Madrid gets some experience against that in Champions League against the lower sides. And against a lot of La Liga ultimately. But Mallorca under Aguirre, the Mexican, has really just put their team as deep as possible. And then they try to spring counterattacks, run down the wings, and cross a ball into the box for Marici's head because he's a giant. And especially in Spain, he's so much bigger than everybody else. But does that work against Real Madrid? It could, because they're going to try to restrict space and make it hard for Real Madrid to score. Real Madrid do a really good job of finishing efficiently despite not getting a lot of clear chances. I don't think that that's something that can go on forever, though it certainly does seem to happen with the big clubs across Europe. Bayern Munich is the one I think of first when I think of always outperforming XG, though Real Madrid are certainly in a team like that. They're not going to have a lot of chances. And unfortunately, when you play or go against Real Madrid, especially at the Bernabeu, 0-0 at halftime is not a good enough situation, unfortunately, to really feel any sort of comfort. Happened last year, I remember, with Deportivo Alaves, who did get relegated, but Mallorca aren't that different of a team, in my opinion. And 0-0 at halftime, +2 or even higher than that, didn't cover the spread. I think Mallorca, they're probably getting to a +2 goal underdog, and that will make me a lot more interested. I think until there, I'm not going to touch anything here. But I do think Mallorca can make this hard, restrict space on Real Madrid, and force them on, a third match when Mallorca will be playing their second because Real Madrid had to play midweek Champions League. I like the idea of Mallorca hanging around here, but until I see two, I'm not getting involved. Elche then hosts Athletic Club. Elche currently a half a goal underdog at home. And that's because they are a bad team with really unathletic center backs. And until that changes, I don't believe in them. They just sold Joan Mojica to Villarreal, which is a big problem because he was one of their few creative abilities on the wing, on the left wing as a left back. Maybe they get better a little bit defensively with his replacement, but I feel like that is not a trade you want to make. And it's one you're making because you have to do it financially or the player was going to sit out, hold out, or whatever. Athletic Club, on the other hand, are not great at scoring goals. They live on counterattacks, which they won't get a lot of those against Elche because Elche will likely park the bus as long as they possibly can and try to escape with a goalless draw or get one set piece goal. I do like fading Athletic Club as a favorite, especially on the road. I don't know that half of it is enough on Elche, though a draw currently wins a bet. And I don't think it's impossible for Elche to win this matchup, but they're a significantly worse team and things can go wrong for them really quickly. And I don't see them fighting back into it. So maybe if you're playing Elche here, you like that. Maybe you go under 2.25, really low number, certainly, but goalless is definitely possible here. And that would pay an Elche +1/2 side bet, but I think you have a lot more to play with, and I don't see goals in this matchup happening. So I like under 2.25 a lot better. Getafe then hosts Real Sociedad. Currently, Getafe a quarter goal underdog at home. All the juice on Real Sociedad, who had to play midweek, had to make a trip to Old Trafford for Manchester United. Tough scenario for them to then come to Madrid and play a really physical Getafe side. Real Sociedad, you can certainly question their mettle, their strength, their toughness. They've kind of been a champagne football type of side, not playing great defense, playing their best when they're scoring goals, but when they don't score, they really struggle. Getafe are going to make it hard on them. They're going to be really physical. There's always a huge red card risk with Getafe because they just take yellow cards like they are picking daisies out there. Like it's the goal of their team. I don't know necessarily how I feel about Getafe's goal scoring. Well, I do know how I feel about it. It's Enes Unal, who was really hot last year and hasn't seemed to have that so far this season. And if he's not scoring, I don't know who is scoring for Getafe. So that worries me. I think from where I sit with them right now, I lean to the quarter, especially getting odds, but I'll be waiting until I see a half a goal underdog in my pocket at home. And then we'll see what the Real Sociedad lineup looks like because they did some rotating midweek. I think because they wanted to play their best side for Manchester United, but we'll end up seeing what happens and how they prioritize things in Europe versus in the league going forward. Last match on Sunday is Real Betis hosting Villarreal. Big matchup, especially both these teams played in Europe. Betis currently a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice. So maybe this falls to pick them. But I think it speaks to how strong Villarreal started the season. I backed them to finish in a Champions League place. I still think that they're in a good position to do that, especially with a win on the road at Atletico Madrid. But this is a big matchup. It's a big competition or competitor challenger to them finishing in Champions League spot. Betis hasn't done as much to build up their team as Villarreal have, which is a little bit surprising considering Villarreal are in the Conference League and Betis are in Europa League. But say la vie. It is what it is. I lean to Betis as a home underdog because I think they can score goals. I do want to make sure that Nabil Fekir is available, but because he's a huge portion of creativity in that offense, and when he's not there, their offense falls quite a bit in the power rating spot. So lean to Betis getting a quarter at home, but I guess as a backer of Villarreal long term, I like the idea that they're favored at Betis, but I think it's going to be a tough situation for them, especially going against that big crowd at the can't even think of the name. Benito Villamarin. There we go. I went to it and they threw a cigarette at me because I thought I was rooting for the German team, which was very interesting. Which coincidentally, I'm wearing a German soccer jersey today. SC Freiburg. Go SCF. Monday we have Almeria hosting Osasuna, and then hopefully we'll get through the Spanish portion of this podcast. Almeria currently a pick'em with slightly more juice than Osasuna. This seems to be kind of jockeying around at the pick'em number. Almeria sold their guy Umar Sadiq, and really didn't look great without him, unfortunately, in their first game. Didn't have a lot of creativity, and that's a big concern because he was dominant and will probably be a huge piece of whatever success Real Sociedad have this season if he can stay healthy. Osasuna are not a great offense, so I generally like to go against them on the road, but at pick'em here, there's not much for me to do. I think the juice is pretty much even at the moment now, slightly higher, minus 111 to Osasuna versus minus 109 to Almeria. So I'm not sure where this one's even going to go. Goals are going to be hard to see, so under 2.25 looks fairly decent to me as well. But those are some low totals, and who knows what happens with red cards, penalties, and all those sort of things. So I feel like if you're playing under, you have to feel really confident in it. I don't know that I feel that way just yet. But going through Spain La Liga's card for this week, nothing on that Osasuna match. I do lean to Betis at home getting a quarter. Also to Getafe getting a quarter at home. Elche getting a half at home, though it's not a strong one there. Like Mallorca, but waiting till they get 2 from Real Madrid, especially on the road. I do like Celta de Vigo, but I want that +1 at Atleti. Cadiz, not worth it, even with your worst enemies number, money, or all that sort of stuff. Espanyol has moved down to pick'em. Would love for them to come back to a quarter, but it's not there and available now. Valencia not yet at a quarter. And I do like Valladolid today on Friday getting a quarter. And I think I'll play Valladolid as my best bet for La Liga for this match day 6 or whatever number, because they're all over the place across Europe right now. But Valladolid getting a quarter from Girona is my lean for Spain. Next, we'll move to Italy for Serie A, and its matchups start on Saturday with Napoli hosting Spezia, coming off an awesome performance against Liverpool in the Champions League, and we'll see if they can follow that up. Big question for them for sure. But Spezia getting a goal in 3 quarters on the road is the way I would look. But I don't like them. I think they have big problems with their new manager trying to play defensively with a team that's only played offense for the last few seasons. I don't know what's going to happen there. I do like Luca Gotti as their manager, but he hasn't really taken hold just yet. And if it hasn't happened yet, I don't know when it will. Napoli are a team that can thrash other opponents, as we saw. They could have scored 7 against Liverpool and probably deserved to. They can murder teams. They're usually a lot better to me on the road, Napoli are, than they are at home. But I think they're a really tough team. And I have completely come from really liking Roma to start this season to now really liking Napoli, of those teams that could kind of the outside chances that could challenge for the Scudetto. I think Napoli are in that race, and I'm not looking forward to fading them. Moving next to Inter Milan hosting Torino. Inter, a 1.25 goal favorite, and they haven't started the year very well, to be frank. Had to play Champions League midweek. That's tough. Hosting Bayern Munich, get to stay at home for this one, hosting Torino, but they're gonna have to win by more than a goal, and I think that's a big ask for them. Torino want to hold the ball and have possession. That's gonna let Inter counterattack at will, and that's a big problem because that's what Inter wants to do. Conte established that system, and Inzaghi has pretty much held that and basically done exactly what Conte did, and didn't win them a title last year, but got them very close, and they were the best team and probably should have. So maybe there's some questions about Inzaghi as a manager, but if you're playing Torino here, you need them to be really careful when they possess the ball, and I'm concerned about that, especially on the road at San Siro. I do like the legs advantage, but only getting 1.25. I mean, it feels a little short to me, surprisingly, to say out loud, but it does. Last on Saturday, we have Sampdoria hosting AC Milan. Currently, Samp, a 1-goal underdog at home. And I've pretty much written off Sampdoria. I just, seeing them get eviscerated by Salernitana a couple weekends ago or Mondays ago, has just made me feel like they are a team in flux. They've been bad for years, and I just don't trust them at all. AC Milan, just, I mean, only having a goal of insurance against Rafael Leao right now seems really scary to me. Moving to Sunday, Atalanta hosting Cremonese. Atalanta, 1.5 goal favorite. Cremonese just haven't really looked at the level just yet. They unfortunately took over the Inter goalkeeper who cost them the Scudetto last season. He's not looked great to me so far. Cremonese have been in battles, but haven't been able to hang around. And I think Atalanta look like they're a team that's finally getting their stuff together after a lot of expectations that they were not able to live up to last season. We'll see what happens, but I'm not really that interested in Cremonese, nor have I really been interested in a lot in Italy so far this season. Maybe that's part of why my record's so good at the beginning, because it's only brutal losses when you play Serie A underdogs, it feels like. Bologna then, as a home underdog now to Fiorentina, I think just sacked their manager, Sinisa Mihailovic, who has been dealing with cancer and fighting that, and that's been disappointing. But the biggest problem is that they haven't been able to win so far this season. They've been around, they deserve better, I think, from their performances, and Marko Arnautovic is a monster. And they are in a pretty good situation here, hosting Fiorentina, who are off of midweek European play, haven't really had that for the last couple seasons. So we'll see how they handle two competitions at once. They've been playing and had to qualify, I think, to get to the Conference League. So good question about their legs, especially as we go through this. And the longer this goes with playing match days and midweek, we'll see what happens. But Bologna currently very juiced getting a quarter at home. I lean that way. We'll see if it stays, because I need to make sure that Marko Arnautovic is in a lineup for Bologna in order to play them. Moving next to Lecce hosting Monza. Currently Lecce a quarter goal favorite at home. And Monza haven't had a great start to their time in the in Serie A, the top division in Primera Division, I guess you could call it, in Italy. I think Monza, they did a lot of buying talent. Hasn't really gelled or really done much just yet. Certainly not the best players, but a lot of good players you'd know from other Spanish and other leagues, and even within Serie A. Lecce I've been pretty impressed with so far. I do think that playing as a favorite is a little bit different of a situation for them, though they did win La Segunda, or Serie B, excuse me, last season. So we'll see what they kind of do as a favorite. It's gonna be a different type of situation. Lean to Monza, of course, because I don't like teams that don't know what it's like to play as a favorite, that have to win matches in order to cover spreads. But I need to think a lot more about Monza before I want to play. Sassuolo then hosting Udinese, currently a pick'em with most of the juice on Udinese on the road. Sassuolo's been really disappointing. Udinese are finally coming around and had a dominant effort and smashing Roma last week. Credit them for that, and maybe this new manager's philosophy to be a bit more aggressive, a bit more counter pressing, and a bit more on the front foot is going to work. I really love Udinese just based on them being a really strong defensive side in the past. They also seem to be really good with recruitment. They get a lot of players that they sell players, but then replace them with seemingly players that are just as talented right behind them. I feel like they skew a little bit more offensively than they have in the past. So I lean to Udinese and hope that they move to an underdog by the time this kicks off, but I doubt that happens on Sunday. Next, we'll go Lazio hosting Verona. Currently, Lazio a 1-goal favorite. And I think this speaks to Verona not starting the year off very well, plus Lazio scoring a ton of goals. Lazio did play Feyenoord midweek, did host them, and so there's some legs are going to be a question mark. They played a pretty strong lineup in that one, though did some rotating. I'm not sure what's going to happen here, but Verona, I feel like they have not done enough defensively for me to trust them. And while getting a full goal of insurance is a big number, I do trust Lazio to score. And unfortunately, when they get one, they might get two. And I feel like in a high scoring game with a total at 2 3/4, I feel like you need to feel that Verona will score. And I don't know that I feel that way, even though Thomas Henry has been really hot so far. Juve then hosting Salernitana in the nightcap on Sunday. Juventus a 1.25 goal favorite right now. Salernitana have done a lot more business than I think anyone would have expected. They've been a lot more talented than they had start of last year, when everyone thought they were going down, until they had some miraculous run towards the end of the season. I like them. I don't like what I've seen from Juve so far. They're dealing with a ton of injuries, as they seem to always be, which makes me think about their medical staff and kind of how they push players or what they do midweek. But ultimately, Juve are going to try to take a 1-0 lead and sit on the ball and try to defend. They did that. I watched the Spezia match last night, which is a brutal 92nd minute backdoor or front door cover for Juve with Arkadiusz Milik scoring. But they're a team that I don't really trust, especially giving more than a goal. It's hard because Salernitana don't have a ton of talent, but they have, I mean, Buladia, who they got, I think, from Villarreal, is really talented, and I like him running against Juve. So I lean to Salernitana at this moment, and we'll see what happens with this number by the time it kicks off. But getting more than a goal is a lot for Juve to offer to anybody right now. Last but not least, moving to Monday, Empoli hosting Roma. Currently, Empoli a 3-quarter goal underdog at home. Roma needs to bounce back from that really awful performance at Udinese or against Udinese. I think that they're going to be in a prime position to do that. Though Empoli are no slouch. They defensively they've had some issues for sure over the last couple of seasons, but they saved the league, and that's their biggest thing. They can score goals, though they've been a little bit weaker at that this season. I think this is a number where if I get a +1 on Empoli, I'm a lot more interested. At 3/4, I'm not sure I'm there yet. I'm so tempted by that +1 coming nearby that that's probably what I'm waiting for. Though, based on the current juice, Empoli a little bit more right now. It doesn't look like it'll get to +1, but we'll see what happens by the time this kicks off on Monday. Roma have to deal with a lot of expectations. It hasn't seemed to deal with it so well so far. So we'll see what happens. But lean to Empoli getting 3/4 as I sum up Italy for anyone who wants a TLDR. Like Salernitana getting 1.25. Lean to Verona, but don't know if I trust them just yet. Nothing to do with Udinese until they're an underdog. It doesn't look like that'll happen. Lean to Monza getting 1/4, but don't feel comfortable with them just yet. Bologna getting 1/4 at home under a new manager seems like a good spot. Hosting Fiorentina, especially off a midweek match. No interest in Cremonese or Sampdoria. Torino a little bit, but I feel like that line's a little too short for me. And Spezia getting 1.75 just doesn't feel like enough from Napoli, who can run riot and go scourge earth policy on pretty much anyone right now. For my best bet, I'll go Bologna +1/4 at home in Serie A to bounce back, trying to fight their way after a poor start to the season. Next, we'll move to the German Bundesliga, and we do have a Friday match here for Werder Bremen hosting Augsburg. Werder Bremen, incredible run for their season. You could say the wishbone is up to their forehead right now. It is so far in there, but ultimately good for them. Big club in Germany. I think German football will be better with them in there spending money when they actually get some sort of financial situation. They're not doing well right now, but it doesn't matter because they score in the 86th minute or later every match, it seems. How they won, I mean, incredible scenes last weekend in Bochum. Bochum deserved a win and then lost 2-0. I mean, just incredible. Multiple goals ruled out for Bochum. A ridiculous penalty offered at the end of the match in stoppage time that gave Werder Bremen the convincing victory. But incredible performance by Werder Bremen, and it's amazing that they seem to keep scoring right at the end, including the 3 unanswered goals late at Dortmund to steal a win from a 2-0 deficit, basically in stoppage time. But I don't think that'll continue. They are a 1-goal favorite with all the juice right now against Augsburg, who have looked terrible and look like a relegation team. That 20 million they spent on Ricardo Pepi, who doesn't play for them and now is on loan, didn't play for the US either. They got fooled big time. Good for him. I'm sure he's getting like 20 grand a week because it's probably all they can afford. Fading Werder Bremen seems like the side I want to be on here. Over under is 3, which is monstrous. I don't know where that comes from either. I mean, I was hoping not to bet this game, but honestly, that under 3 is nuts for me right now. Augsburg, I mean, depending on what they have available defensively, I know they've been dealing with some injuries, but they have no one to score right now. I don't know where that's going to come from. They did have a win at Bayer Leverkusen of all teams, but they're a really bad team, and I don't want anyone to back Augsburg getting +1 right now, even if this moves to 1.25. Moving to Saturday, Leipzig hosting Borussia Dortmund. Currently, Leipzig a quarter-goal favorite. Both played midweek in Champions League, and I gotta say, RB Leipzig is very disappointed in me so far this season. I think Dortmund have been a little bit disappointing as well offensively, but their defense has been good. I'm not sure it's something you can trust forever. But Dortmund have owned the series. They didn't do great against Leipzig last season, but that was like about as bad as their defense has been in probably forever. It's been a lot better. They've added a lot to it this season. It's still not perfect, but I feel like Leipzig is a favorite right now as someone you want to go against. Especially against what I think is a better team from what I've seen so far. So lean to that quarter on Borussia Dortmund. Next, we'll move to Hoffenheim hosting Mainz. Currently, Hoffenheim a quarter-goal favorite at home with Mainz having all the juice. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Hoffenheim didn't play great at Dortmund last Friday, but get an extra day of rest and actually 2 days because Mainz played on Sunday. But this seems really short to me. I don't know what Mainz have really struggled on the road for years. if this moves to pick them, I might even play Hoffenheim here because I think they're a great home team. I think they've been under the radar and kind of how talented they are. Their transfer window selling David Raum, who's going to start for Germany, was bad for them for the future, but Angelino is a great player. Kramer still is one of the scarier strikers in all of the Bundesliga. So I like Hoffenheim here. Mines are way too short, and I don't really get it. Bayern Munchen then hosting Stuttgart, currently Bayern a 2.25 goal favorite. With all the juice, maybe moving to 2.5. Stuttgart, they sold Tasa Kalajdzic, and now we got a big question about their offense. There was already a question about it before. They have to prove to me that they have an offense here, and I think you're at best hoping they lose 2-0 to Bayern. Bayern are very likely to score more than that. So no interest there for me. Eintracht Frankfurt then hosting Wolfsburg, currently Frankfurt a 0.5 goal favorite. All the juice on the road team, Wolfsburg here. Maybe this falls to a quarter. Frankfurt have to deal with playing Champions League midweek. And they're going to have a tough run of fixtures, especially considering how poor they were in the Bundesliga last season. Wolfsburg have been awful. Niko Kovac is just from a good manager at Bayern to then just being a disaster everywhere he's gone since then, it feels like, or maybe a good manager until he took the Bayern job. He looks exposed. Wolfsburg don't look very good. Their talent doesn't seem to be there. Frankfurt have plenty of problems, but they have a lot more ability and they have a lot better guys on that team. I don't know what to say about Wolfsburg other than I like the half they're getting from Frankfurt with stronger legs or more well-rested legs. I just don't know where the goals come from, and I feel like Frankfurt can get those. Colomwani is terrifying. I think he's going to be a great Bundesliga player. Lean to Wolfsburg getting a half, but if this falls to a quarter, I probably skip, and I kind of hope that happens. Hertha Berlin then hosting Bayer Leverkusen, currently Hertha a 0.5 goal underdog at home. Finally got a win on the road at Augsburg last weekend. Deserved it because I feel like they've been playing so much better than results have indicated. But they're going to have a big test of Leverkusen here coming off Champions League midweek. So that's a great position to be in for Hertha, though Leverkusen can score goals, and we know that Hertha can concede. Where do the Hertha Berlin goals come from? Dodi Lukebakio, excuse me. Love his interviews at post game, and I feel like he's a pretty cool guy. It seems like, and I like listening to what he says about the team. They're fighting. They got a new manager. They're kind of learning as they go, trying to improve on the relegation playoff position they finished in last season. Leverkusen are not the same offense. They just simply aren't. Maybe they are better this year or turn it around after a really slow start. Siwani, their manager, is going to really throw a caution to the wind and just play aggressive offensive football. I lean to Hertha Berlin getting a half at home because I just don't believe or trust in Leverkusen just yet. It'd be really nice to get a full goal. I just don't think that's even close to being likely here. So you really have to decide if you think that Hertha can keep Leverkusen relatively quiet offensively or that they can score. Because 1-0 is a loss. I mean, if Leverkusen score and Hertha don't, that's a loss in this current spread. I think you honestly, probably if you're betting Hertha, you need to know that or believe that they're going to score a single goal at the very least and play good defense. And that's kind of asking for two good things from an Hertha team that we can't really trust at this point. Schalke then hosting Bochum in the nightcap of potential strugglers in this league. Two blue teams. Surprised that this is the big one for the night match, but I guess they're trying to balance stuff with Champions League coming up and rest and all that sort of stuff. Schalke, a 0.5 goal favorite right now at home. Based on what offense? I mean, they played fairly well in their last match, but ultimately are unable to win on the road. But luckily they're at home here. I think it's been years since they've won at home in the Bundesliga. Maybe a little unfair because they went down to the Schweizer Liga last year and did win it. But Bochum deserves so much better from all these matches so far this season, but they've only had losses. Makes me think there's pressure on their manager who should not be fired. He's awesome, Thomas Reich. Haven't seen that he's lost his job just yet, and I hope he doesn't. But Bochum, I mean, they're getting what they paid for because they let a lot of their loanees go back to their parent clubs. They didn't really bring in too much, and they paid the price so far. They're not, I mean, on no points through 5 or 6 match days. That's a big problem. The nice part is they go to Schalke, who don't have, I mean, they probably are more talented than Bochum. Certainly their squad value is much higher because Bochum was like leaps and bounds below everybody else entering the season. But I don't think Schalke's offense can really be trusted to score goals. I think goalless is very likely here, or not likely, very likely, excuse me, very possible here. Over under at 2.75 also seems really high. I don't know where they get that. And I also feel like there's almost a lot more safety there than on Bochum getting a 0.5 goal. And I think at this point, it's very, I'm looking to play more unders because there's no overtime than playing a side because that 1-0 loss for Schalke would be a losing bet. but a clear winner on the over/under total here. So lean that way on this one, but also lean to Bochum as well. Moving next to Sunday, we have Köln hosting Union Berlin. Both played midweek in European competitions. Köln currently a quarter goal favorite at home. Union very has all the juice right now. Might be falling back to pick them. Pretty much anytime Union are an underdog, I'm interested. I think that they are going to play Cologne as tough as anybody can. They're going to be really physical. They have shown a lot more offensively than I think anyone expected with Jordan Sibachu, or PFOC as he's known in the US. He's been awesome to start the season. Cologne, they had a tough match against Nice on the road yesterday on Thursday, and have to travel back to the Cathedral City. So who knows about the legs on that one. Union, meanwhile, played at home against I think a Dutch side. So a lot favors Union here. I don't want to lose that quarter of a goal of insurance, and I would imagine that they're going to play as much as they can in terms of lineups for this one, best as they can. I do worry about Chris Trimmel, excuse me, as a former captain, but he's rotating a lot, so he's not starting a ton. And I worry about these midweek matches draining Union, because it really affected them more so in Conference League play last year than the Bundesliga. But we'll see what ends up happening with them. I love Union here anytime they're underdog. I love them though. And last but not least, Freiburg hosting Mönchengladbach. Freiburg off of a European match this week, which hasn't happened in a long time for the club. I'm wearing a kit right now. Vincenzo Grifo, just awesome set piece taker, awesome all around, also great name. I'm slightly biased on that one, but Freiburg currently a half a goal favorite at home, and all the juice on Gladbach right now. Freiburg embarrassed this team last season in Borussia Park at Gladbach. There's probably some memories on the Gladbach side, though the manager has switched over to Daniel Farke. I have questions about Freiburg's offense in general. I like their depth, but it's going to be severely tested this season with playing midweek. I think Gladbach are the side that I want here, especially getting a half of a goal, which I think is higher than I've made it. There's a ton of juice you got to pay to deal with it, but a lean to Gladbach getting a half of a goal, and also I guess to that under 3, though it's not as strong as I was feeling about Bochum a little bit earlier. So to sum up Germany, I'm interested in Gladbach getting a half, Union getting a quarter, Bochum both that half a goal and that under 2 3/4. That number seems gigantic to me. Hertha at home getting a half is of interest, but I don't know that I feel like comfort enough in them. It's really would be an anti-Leverkusen play if you're making it. Wolfsburg, I like getting a half, but I just don't think I trust them enough. Stuttgart is a definite pass. Hoffenheim, if they drop to a pick'em, I might play them a rare favored pick'em, but don't want to lay a quarter right now. Borussia Dortmund getting a quarter of extreme interest as well. I like them going to Leipzig because I think that they can score with them and might even win this matchup. And on Friday, I lean to Augsburg +1, but man, I don't want to play it, I gotta say. And lean to that under as well. I think I like that a lot more. So for my best bet for Germany, I'm going to go with Union Berlin getting a quarter of a goal at Cologne. I think they're a team that I want to back as an underdog all the time. It's a little bit scary to say that without seeing lineups, but we're recording this on Friday, so hopefully the lineups will look good on Sunday morning here in Dallas. Last but not least, we'll move now to Ligue 1 in France for a Friday match today. We have Lens hosting Troyes. Currently, Lens a 1 1/4 favorite at home. Most of the juice on the Lens side. Maybe this climbs. Troyes have been pretty bad to start the season, and I don't really want to face Song du Blood and Gold, McDonald's colors, or really one of the most inspired fan bases. Met a guy from Lens last weekend in Chicago. What's up? Doubt you're listening to this podcast. Don't even remember your name, Francois or something probably. But anyway, nice to meet you. Troyes will not make my card. Moving to Saturday, PSG hosting Brest. PSG a three goal favorite at home. Monster number. Brest are going to play defensively, but I've bet Brest in this matchup a couple of times and has not fared well. Even when they play well, things go badly at the end. Ridiculous red cards or penalties or both, and it's just one of those things where I think I'll let that one pass. Last of the nightcap on Saturday is Marseille hosting Lille. Pretty big matchup here. Marseille a half a goal favorite at home. All the juice on Lille on the road. Lean to Lille because Marseille had to play midweek and had a tough one at Tottenham. But I think from where I sit right now, Lille is my interest. I just don't know that I trust them to hang with Marseille, who I think are really good, and I don't really like the idea of fading them at home in front of that huge, raucous crowd. Moving to Sunday, Strasbourg hosting Clermont Foot. Currently, Strasbourg a 3-quarter goal favorite with most of the juice. Lean to the foot, though they've had a tough start to the year. I just don't know that I believe in Strasbourg enough at this point, and they have to win by multiple goals to take my full unit. Certainly more interested in that +1 if it gets there. Moving next to Ajaccio hosting Nice. Currently, Ajaccio a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice. Going to be a tough spot for Nice, having to play Cologne at home and then venture to the island of Corsica, which is shared, I think, between Italy and France. And Ajaccio, they can't really score goals. So that's the nice part for Nice. Problem is Nice have to go there and win, and I'm not sure that they're going to be able to do it because they've started the year so poorly, though they did a ton of business at the end of the transfer window last weekend. Lean to Ajaccio getting a quarter. Next we go Angers hosting Montpellier. Currently Angers a pick'em with all the juice right now, leading to Montpellier if this climbs to a quarter. Angers have not looked very good to start this year. Maybe they were a year behind my projection of them getting relegated last year. Certainly would be easier with 4 teams going down from France this season, but Montpellier, they have talent. They always do. Putting it together is a big question, and trying not to have Sacco in the starting lineup is also really important for them because he's horrible. But as they get to a quarter of a goal underdog, I will lean harder and harder to Montpellier. Lorient then hosting Nantes. Currently, Lorient a quarter goal favorite at home. And I think this is a lot about Nantes playing midweek in European competitions, and because Lorient, they're a team that wants to sit back and counter. I don't think that strategy changes, and Nantes have a really good defense, including a really good goalkeeper. Maybe Alban Lafont doesn't play in this matchup. That would certainly explain a little bit of this number being on a quarter, but I feel like Nantes, especially after kind of limping into European competition by winning the Coupe de France, I mean, that was impressive and a great run, but it speaks to kind of where they were a season before when Nantes were in the relegation playoff and barely survived Toulouse to stay in the league. And now with 4 teams going down, I think they got to take this seriously. I think they got to play as strong of a lineup as they can, though they did play a pretty strong one midweek yesterday in European competition. I like them getting a quarter, as I think this is going to be a very defensive matchup, and under 2.5 looks good to me here as well. Toulouse and hosting Reims. Currently Toulouse a quarter goal favorite. Just saying something for a newly promoted side, but they did win the league and they've been getting a lot of respect this season. Reims have been really good. Champagne team. Loved them last year. Haven't really had as much success with them, on them, or really against them this year. But I do feel like that will change. Still love their manager Garcia. Oscar Garcia has been great. And I think they're going to challenge Toulouse, though Toulouse have been good at home. Pretty cheap price considering they're only favored by a quarter, and they've been getting a lot more respect so far this season. But lean to Reims as a draw is a win. Rennes then hosting Auxerre, coming off European play that really needs to spur this offense because it's been quiet so far this season. Rennes a 1.25 goal favorite. Auxerre have been really competitive. Maybe not covering a ton of spreads, but 1-0 losses seems to be what they're good at, and that would pay a half a bet right here, taking 1.25. I still don't believe in Rennes just yet, so they're gonna have to prove something to me. Auxerre getting 1.25 is of interest. And last but not least, as we are still pretty deep in this episode, even without England, Monaco hosting Lyon in the nightcap of the Sunday matches in France. And Monaco currently a pick'em with almost all the juice right now. I lean to Lyon. Monaco had to play a European competition midweek. Lyon don't have that this year and are off to a great start. I'm looking forward to them getting a quarter, as I feel like Monaco are still a team that I don't trust. They're not very mature. They're really young, and that speaks to their maturity. They just sold Sofiane Diop, who was really good for them, and I feel like should have stayed amongst others. But I'm sure there's more behind the scenes to that move. Nothing for me to do just yet at Pick'em, but I do like Lyon if they move to a quarter. So like Lyon, but not there yet. Lean to Auxerre getting a goal and a quarter, but want to check in a little bit more on Rennes. Rennes. Reims getting a quarter from Toulouse of interest. Nantes, of course, getting a quarter at Lorient of interest. Montpellier, if they move to a quarter, but not there yet. Ajaccio at home, taking advantage of some tired Nice legs is possible, but the lack of goals is a problem. Clermont Foot, I want +1 against Strasbourg because I do think Strasbourg can score in this matchup. Lille getting a half is of interest from Marseille, but likely not enough, especially with a very heavy juice right now. Brest getting 3 from PSG will not make it, and Troyes I'm avoiding from here on out, at least until they prove something to me a little bit deeper. In terms of best bets for France, I'm going to go, since Lyon aren't there, I'm going to take Nantes getting a quarter from Lorient because I think it's going to be a tired team, and they're probably going to have some rotation in there. But I think they have to play their best because they haven't got off to a great start to the season. Like them with the late equalizer against Strasbourg, and I feel like they could take a lead against Lorient, and goalless is a very good possibility. So Nantes will be my pick, getting a quarter from France as my best bet for France. Go back through the German Bundesliga where I went with Union Berlin getting a quarter from Cologne. That's certainly I like that one better than Nantes. So process of elimination there. Currently the leader in the club as I scroll through the best bets for each of these leagues and ultimately come up with that ultimate best bet. Thanks everyone for hanging along as long as you have so far. In Italy, I took who did I take as my best bet in Italy? I believe I took, unfortunately, doing this live, it's hard to remember, but it just happened. I believe I took Bologna getting a quarter at home from Fiorentina. I like that one still just as much as I did a few minutes ago. I think I like that one, especially because they have the rest advantage. I think that's my favorite as we speak right now. And last but not least, going to Spain. My best bet there, I think, was Real Valladolid getting a quarter from Girona. And I think in the interest of everyone listening to this on hopefully Saturday and Sunday, I'm going to go with Bologna getting 1/4 goal as my ultimate best bet for this episode. You can follow me on Twitter, @the_real_G Warner. Thanks for tuning in, whether you're on StreamYard, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, wherever you are. Please subscribe, like, give a review, give 5 stars, do whatever it does. It means a lot to me as it gets me out to more people. And I appreciate you listening. And hopefully with more people, I'll do more episodes and keep everyone entertained. Have a great weekend. And last but not least, if anyone's got an idea on how to get Borussia Dortmund tickets for next weekend against Schalke, please hit me up. I will make it worth your while. I promise. Maybe I'm giving you a guest spot on this show if you want, because I'm desperate trying to figure it out because they have taken the secondary market is only available to Borussia Dortmund members, and I'm not one of them, nor can I become one because I don't have a European bank account. Thank you, and help me get some tickets, and let's win some money this weekend. Real_G Warner, hit me up.